He is a current Dean and CEO of Business School Netherlands. Served the pioneering governing management board of Lagos State University Teaching Hospital between 2008 and 2016. Has business transformation experience in leading world-class global firms, including Pfizer, Worldwide Biopharmaceuticals, Mike Adenuga Group, BSN, and CMOE USA. At Pfizer, he served as Executive Regional Director, rebuilding Pfizer afresh from ground zero in Nigeria in 1997 to cover over 32 countries by 2004. He is a professor of Agile Organization Transformation in Business School Netherlands, director of World Institute of Action Learning Coaches in Nigeria. He is a board member of Haggai Leadership International Alumni, a distinguished Toastmaster, Chartered President 2016, and Area 28 Director of Toastmasters 2019 to 2020, President of Entrepreneurs Organization 2019 to 2020, and a member of Ikoyi Club 1938, married to his childhood friend Ife and blessed with children. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Lere Baale.
Good afternoon, my colleagues. I will stand behind this lantern. Hope you can see me because of my peculiar height. You don't describe people like us as being short. We are cute. Or extraordinarily summarized. We don't like to spend too much time. I would like to use my slide. I'm basically a teacher. I'm impressed by the CEO of Lifepage, who have been a mentor to me for some time now. I teach in an executive program. That means a number of times the students could actually do what is called reverse mentoring. I'm a perpetual learner, a scholar, whom Leke Alder, who I've known since 1987, he did mention the fact that one needs to learn to be humble. If we're a good learner, you don't have an option than to be humble. Is it possible for me to have my slides? As I would like to just spend exactly, that's fine, very kind of you. Do you have a remote control or I have to talk to you next? All right, let me start. Because I'm aware of the fact that there will be two forms of two mixed audience here. So what I've done is to actually speak to the two forms of audience. One is the audience of investors who are real estate players, primary players. The second audience that I worked on are the people who are buyers of real estate. No problem. Makes it easier. Is it? Can you see now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I didn't know my height could block anybody. Sorry. I'm not actually a typical wealth creation speaker. I'm actually from a very lowly background. I couldn't pay my fees in primary school, and my parents couldn't pay my fees in primary school. It was like £1. Maybe Oladipupo has brought me here because of some of the stories I tell in class. I worked on my own to be able to pay £1 per term in my primary school. I used to earn an equivalent of 1 shilling 3 pence for full work on Saturday. I did same in secondary school. I work as a vendor, as a photographer. I work in various roles. As a store person, as a houseboy. And after my first 3 years, I couldn't pay my fees, which was £9 per term. And I stopped my education. And the principal of the school happens to be a reference sister, a Catholic reference sister, looked for me about 6 weeks into the new session, which was equivalent to Form 3, and brought me back to school. And then paid my fees for the rest of my secondary school, A-level, and university. Because of this, I made up my mind, my kids need to get the best of education. And if it requires me to sell all my assets, I will do so. In 1985, I got exposed to somebody who happens to be my direct boss and who happens to have made some investment in real estate as part of his effort to fund the education of his children. He opened up to me on what I needed to do, and then I started to save money by 1986. First in shares, which cumulated eventually into purchase of investment in real estate outside the country. And when my kids were of age and I started to put them in school, I had to borrow money against those mortgages through methodology of refinancing, taking advantage of capital appreciation to be able to fund the education of my kids for an aggregate of 20 years in UK. My son is a PhD holder. He had his PhD at the age of 28. He's older than that now, so of course he's married with kid, although I look like a 25-year-old boy myself. My daughter has double masters. Collectively, they spent 18 years. And my wife also had course to go to UK for 2 years. I had all my education in this country. My tertiary education, I had in business school, Netherlands. But all my education, my third degree, but all my education, everything, I had in this country. And I'm a strong believer that I've also tried my hand in the stock, and I've had cause to have my fingers burnt, of course. When I bought, I won't mention names of the company, I bought shares for 6 naira. It went to 24. I wanted more. And then it crashed. And I lost a huge amount of money. All my life savings, everything. But thanks to the fact that I had some backup investment in real estate. For anybody who's interested in quick money, real estate might not be the right thing. But you want an assured kind of money. The kind of money that will look as if you've won a lottery years to come. I think real estate is the real thing. And I speak with all kinds of confidence. I can't mention figures to you, but at least I've spoken about what I've been able to do with real estate money. And if anybody has any kid outside the country, you spend not less than about £30,000 in a year, which includes tuition, which includes free tuition, feeding, return ticket to Nigeria twice in a year, and all the things that are required. And if real estate would take care of 20 years like that, it looks like a good investment. So, my wife is very much interested in real estate in Nigeria, and she's been in the financial institution for some decades now. And every time we speak, she educates me concerning real estate in Nigeria, and that's the fact that if you don't have the opportunity that I do have, which is to invest in real estate outside the country, then your first bet is real estate in Nigeria. Because real estate outside the country requires a number of things. First, if it's US, you need to have an identity. So if you don't have an identity, it might be difficult. And what I mean by identity, that you must have a social security number. Then if you cannot do that, then you must have real money. In case you are buying cash, you are not really taking a loan. But taking a loan is about the best way, because if you buy a mortgage for $10, can you find the file? Okay. I will pray that you have a breakthrough. If you don't, I will just speak. I prepared the slides a few hours ago, so late in the night, so I'm able to, I know what I've prepared. So essentially, real estate is, let's say, let me start an example. Let's say you want to buy a mortgage worth 100. Let me use outside the country, which is the first mortgage I had. You want to buy a mortgage worth 100K. You are expected to give maybe 20 to 25K as deposit. The interest rate is not like what it is in Nigeria. It's usually about 5%. But luckily, I'm able to secure 2.65% for some. And particularly during the era of Obama, which has risen now to about 3.5, it's likely to rise again now. It means if the real estate grows by an average of about 5% per year, it means the real value of that property goes to 105 at the end of year one. Am I correct? Good. Year two grows by another 5%. Am I correct? So it means in 4 years, even if we use simple arithmetic of 5,000 per year, in 4 years it will be 20,000. Am I correct? If your deposit was 20K, it means in 4 years you have actually recovered your money. Yes or no? Because the rent itself will pay it for itself. Number two, because you have a capital appreciation of about 20, you are able to borrow money to the tune of 80% of the increment of 20, which you can plow into whatever you want to do again. And so, if I patient bird, like I am, and there's a 72 rule in investment management, that means whatever be the value of your gain in a year, you can know the number of years it will take for the total value of the asset itself to double. If it's, say, 12%, if it's 5%, that means within a period of 14 to 15 years, the value of your asset will double. Because you divide 72 by 5, or let's say 72 by 6%. Because in places like UK, the value of property could be as high as about 6-7%. So, in Nigeria, the value of property could be higher, far higher than all those percentages. But overnight, you could also have a crash in exchange rate. So, for those who have option on where to invest their dollars, it requires that you actually invest in real estate in Nigeria in location that you will be willing to pay for rent. I've stayed in the same environment since 1999. I didn't have money to live where I'm living now. To have a house where I'm living. My colleagues were buying land, dead property far away from this center. And the center for people who live here is Lekki. Of course, I'm not living in Lekki. I can't afford it. Coincidentally, I don't know how to swim well as well. So I hope you understand the reason. So I live on the mainland. And I've been living on the mainland for several years. But I've been living in the current site where I live in Ogudu GRA since 1999. I used to live in Ogba when my office was in Obakran. When my office moved to the 6th floor of Church Gate, I used to work for Pfizer as a director there. I moved to Ogudu GRA. My wife wanted to know why we need to move. One, it was a long journey from Ogba to Victoria Island every morning. And I like to be in the office for 7 a.m. or 7:30 latest. I close 10. I share my work with my wife. It has never, I've been cancelled, I've received cancelled, I've gone for, what do they do in churches? Deliverance, done everything. I've not been, and I've always told her, either share my job, which is my passion, or I share another woman with you, and I think she preferred that I share the job. So I'm actually a workaholic. I enjoy working, particularly the things I love to do. I took an early retirement from Pfizer in 2006 after 25 years of working for Pfizer to start to teach. I've been teaching part-time in 2003, and I enjoy teaching. So I will bore you with lectures today. After the first two speakers, very rich lady who spoke about money, and I saw all the investors. So I was, all the investment and so on and so forth. I also serve on the board of a couple of different companies, including Green Spring School, where we have received a number of investment from some of the investors as well. And I've been serving on it for about 10 years now. So I want to be very honest with you. I share my little background with you so that you understand the fact that real estate is the real thing. If you want to create wealth, I'm not wealthy. I'm still learning. Oladipupo is teaching me everything I need to do to be wealthy. But you really need to. I wanted you to know that I also, my uniform used to be bow tie with suit. So I decided to send that picture. But for about 3 years now, I've not really worn any suit. I love cufflinks, so I wear clothes that has cufflinks. People don't recognize me now again, so I decided I bring my my bow tie is in the car. In case somebody needs to see me to be sure I'm the one, I wear it on this one. All right, let's have the slides. So you see that, no, put the green page. What I want to do today is to just give you this is a green law. I'm going to share with you just bullet points, give you some seeds to plant in your heart, knowing fully well that you need to water the seed yourself. In a forum like this, is not a forum you can share too much details. But I will share enough for you to address the two forms of members of the audience, the real players like Mr. Clement, and the buyers of the product that they make. So I hope they are all here. So next start, okay? Next. My name is Baale, not B.A., Baale. Just to emphasize the fact that my father has multiple wives. And the main fact that I've kept the same wife, a girl I met on October 26, 1980, got married to her. About 5 years later, I thought I was too short because I proposed to her the day I met her, and she felt I was too short. It was some years after I got married to her that I just noticed she was in front of the mirror and I was behind her, and I realized I was actually taller than her. Love didn't even allow me to measure her height. She was over ambitious. She wanted to marry a 6-footer. I don't know. Women are usually too ambitious. Don't tell her. All right. There are types of property management. Some is residential, commercial, industrial, and special purpose. You must recognize the fact that this is not the full range of property management. Golf is a property, it's a real estate. And there are people who just buy land, particularly in locations outside Nigeria. Lekki has its own master plan. And for some who knew the master plan of Lekki, we bidded for some locations to be able to build some things there. We are building one of the biggest diagnostic center in West Africa, somewhere in Lekki now. And when it was allocated to us, based on master plan, there was not supposed to be any residents around it. That diagnosis center now is more like an isolated diagnosis center. I mean, it's supposed to be like a hub of healthcare. So we have to therefore amend the original plan. Rather than just a diagnosis center, we are changing the totality of the center itself to a hub. So, for somebody who has foresight in real estate, you could buy land in such places and hold the land for some time. And then there will be appreciation. So, people are in a hurry who wants to make money the way Yahoo boys make money. Or want to make money the way I went to secondary school, so there are times I will be borrowing grammar from you. The people who turn tatete, what do they call them? Lottery people. The way they make money, Abby, And please remember, I'm conservative. I don't know this modern thing they said. I mean, the one I used to do those days was you put one shilling into one machine like this, you roll it, and then £1 will come out. 20 shillings will come out from 1 shilling. You used to roll it like this. so, so it's important if you don't want to, and you just want to have a steady growth. And for somebody like me who has a tendency to spend everything I have in my hand, real estate is about the best thing for me. And even there's nothing I've done with real estate, the fact that I've been able to educate my kids and wife for an cumulative year of 20 years just reveals that real estate has some good side. If I'm in Nigeria, people always tell me, oh, what I bought and so look at the value today, you sit there and see. And then there's evaluation. I say, okay, if you have that money in your account, you're likely to have spent it. So it still makes sense to put the money in real estate and let it appreciate. And indeed in Nigeria, because the rate of appreciation of the value of your house is faster than 4%, faster than 6%. It's far higher. It could be as high as 10%. For some, it could be as high as 15%. There are cases when you buy a house and within 2 years, it has appreciated more than 20% by the time they finish building it. So what this means is that we have an opportunity to do. Next, what are the real estate growth drivers? Number one is, what do you have there? Next. Number 3, 4, 5, 6, and number 7. So affordability, you don't start to buy a house of what $1 million. You start first with 100,000, 150,000 pounds, things like that. And so you start from a lower level and then you start to grow it. So don't wait till the time you have all the money. Don't start with a 1 billion house. Don't say because everybody has a house in the Koyin, Banana Island, you want to start your first mortgage there. No. You can start in Iju, in Logba, Iba, Badagry. I remember we bought a house in 1987 in Agbara. I knew the house for the first time less than 6 years ago. And so, by the time I saw the house, it was due for rebuilding. But we learned a lot of things. We were able to make money out of that investment. We were able to feel comfortable. And let's say we both lose our jobs. We have a place, we can tell the tenant there to at least live. And then we start to live there. So you have to start somewhere and then build on it gradually. Next. So in US, these are the factors, and those factors are similar. What are the growth strategies? One is to use a viral loop. You have to check his social media, digital. And as you check, you share with other people, so automatically more people get to know what Lifepage does. And there are many players in the real estate business. There are those who build, there are those who sell. And for somebody like me, it will interest you that you will actually get finder's fee, even if you are not a real estate professional. I'm sharing the truth. So when people tell me that they don't have any job, I normally say there are a lot of things you could do. You could go to real estate. People like this say, what are the assets you have? You take a record of it on your video, you put it on WhatsApp or TikTok, no matter how small it is, and people start to show interest. And when eventually, in real estate, out of every 100 people you call on, you will be able to win only about 5, because it's a huge investment. But even 5, you win 5 for something you did not invest money on, and you are giving finder's fee, no matter how low that percentage is. It's not the percentage you take to the bank. It's the real money. Because 1% of a billion is superior to 100% of 5 naira. So, we can use viral loops. In-person outreach, market penetration, market development, product development, particularly for them. You can look at what differentiates you, your ZAG, the word of mouth, the milestone referrals, that this is 10 years now. And so you could refer to some of the things you've done. So some of the people, the real estate people, what I have found out is that people have a tendency to stay with a real estate firm that has given you quality thing. So, Oladipupo is not the first. I mean, we have in the school, we have had about 1853 students who have passed through me, at least either they are in school or they have graduated. About 900 of them have graduated so far. Oladipupo happens to be one of them. He's not the first real estate person, but this is the first time I'm standing on the platform of a student or a graduate of the school to talk and to support that particular student. And it was extremely difficult for me because I didn't want to break that jinx. I just wanted to stay neutral. But when you see somebody who is genuinely committed to doing things honestly, because it's not, you're not the only real estate person. There are many real estate people. So if you want to do a real estate business and you want to put money to it, then you do a background check. And so when there's credibility, when you are not washing money, I hope you know what I mean. Then you should go to authentic real estate people. And that's why, so what are the internal methodology to grow for the real estate people? One is expansion, or what they do. And I think, Madam Azan, am I correct? Okay, sorry, what's your name? Senab, I'm very sorry. I apologize. You know, I have a very small brain, so I don't normally remember all the things. So, expansion, modernization, and she has shared some of the ways you could spread and move. Then diversification. And she spoke about some of the things you could put in real estate that generates money again. We have homes outside. And the club for a particular estate that we have in US, that club is managed by the real estate owner. And everybody who's a member of the estate, who has a property in the estate, is also a member of the club. It's automatic. And then it is not, what do you call it? It's not obligatory. You have signed it as an agreement, you are a member of the club. Either you use it or you don't use it, doesn't matter. So you can imagine me paying subscription similar to what I pay in a Ikoyi club on a yearly basis. And yet I'm not available to enjoy the club. But I pay. And that's part of the income that real estate people can do so. We need to therefore plan for expansion. Either we concentrate on specialized, high profile, like we see some of the people do, or we integrate, or we diversify into related things that creates synergy, or we cooperate with other players in that industry, or we internationalize. There's nothing wrong with Lifepage, recognizing the fact that the young generation that we have now are very mobile. A large number of them are beginning to feel like moving to Canada, moving to UK, am I correct? And for that reason, having a joint businesses and strategy with people outside the country to arrange for real estate for them. Considering the fact that I can take a loan for First Bank in London, and my interest rate on my mortgage there is based on the prevailing interest rate in UK. Yes, please. So, and therefore I can have a house, which I'm paying for with rent in UK. And when the appreciation in that house reaches a particular level, I use the house as basis for me to want to migrate. You got it? That's why I said I'm going to sow seed, but I cannot say many things. Am I communicating? Now, UK changes their immigration law. So you sell that property, you take half of the money and buy a house in Malta. We had less than half of the value of your house, which you have had for this number of years, for 12 years, for 15 years, it has doubled. You take a second passport. And so you become an international person yourself. So real estate has gone international to make sure that you also become international. Am I communicating? You can take money. Remember, my first child was born in 1985. But I started investment in 1985. Because I knew that when my son is about 16 years old, he'll be in an A levels. Am I communicating? And so You have to start someday. Of course, I lived life that was extremely prudent. I had years I never bought anything for myself except stocks. In 1993 January, I went to Ojota. I went to a barber shop there, and I bought shoe and socks and left the old shoes there. Why? I just needed to buy something for myself. I did for everybody, my extended family, my children, everybody, but I never remembered myself. And my wife was so happy that at least you bought something for yourself inside your salary for the previous year. So it requires discipline. For anybody who says word creation is such a simple thing, I will say no. Or unless you are using computer methodology, you know what I mean. Yahooism. Next. For average investor, buying real estate indirectly through real estate exchange trade funds or other managed funds is less risky and more lucrative than buying real estate directly. For real estate directly, for example, you require identification. I remember my first mortgage in UK. They asked me, where do you work? My father was on the 6th floor here. MTN was in Churchgate here as well. And as they were asking me questions, I was answering. Then the guy said, would you like to take tea? I said, no, I would like coffee. You know, I work for an American company. Tea and coffee are called coffee. But the British call tea and coffee tea. And if you take tea, you are conservative. Coffee is the main thing for my own generation who are American-oriented those days. So I said, I like coffee. And I didn't feel that they would have coffee. Then I said, I don't want Nescafe. It's a coffee for the poor. And the guy looked at me like this. He said, so what do you want? I said, brewed coffee. I didn't believe they would get brewed coffee. For those of you, how many of you takes brewed coffee? You know, there's no coffee like brewed coffee. The taste is unique. So, and that's why if you come to my office, you find my brewer. That's one thing. Outside computer, there must be a brewer in my office. So, the guy took me to where I could get brewed coffee in the bank, Barclays Bank. While I was brewing my coffee, in filling my forms, he was asking me questions. I was filling the form online. Or like what Nigerians people ask you to do. They send form to you and they ask you to fill. When you send form to me to fill, why would I have time to fill a form? You are supposed to sit in front of me while I'm having my coffee and doing some other thing and be asking me questions and then I'll be filling. Then you take a copy of my ID card and fill my full name. That's the way it is. I tell people who are bankers, I can't open an account where you ask me to fill form. You fill the form, I sign. That's the way to do marketing. I mean, I was raised a salesman. A salesman must be hungry for success. If I meet a salesperson who is not hungry, I know. When you are hungry, you fill the form. So I asked him to fill the form. If he's hungry for me to take mortgage in the bank, so he filled it. And he has guided me well to say, okay, don't take for Barclays, because the interest rate is this. Barclays is just closing the deal with Woolwich. Woolwich rates are lower. So I will sign you on Woolwich. And to be honest with you, I went there to go and brew my coffee and take my coffee. And they have very nice biscuits, you know, not the kind of evening biscuit in Nigeria. I'm talking of rich biscuit. If I've ever been to Netherlands, you know, Netherlands people have specialized biscuit. This very soft one. So I saw those type of things and then I started to take the coffee. By the time I go back to his office, I didn't know. He just told me that everything should be okay. I should come back next week to sign more papers that he thinks it will skate through. I got to. I made a call to Nigeria to see. They asked me where I work. I say I work in Nigeria. In case they call you. They told me they have called. I say when? As at the time I was taking coffee, they were making calls. So credibility, you know, later I spoke about credibility. Credibility matters. Because they asked me, are you resident? I'm not resident. If you're not resident, this is the person. You say, no problem. What are the other things? And they ask, where do you work? This is where I work. They cross-check with Nigeria. They cross-check with New York office to be sure I truly work for Pfizer. Barclays at that material time, shares in Pfizer was 17% of Pfizer shares in the world. So I had the brand in my favor. I hope you understand it now. So next. Oh no, just leave it. Next. So what are the takeaways? If there's nothing you will remember today, remember that as real estate players, producer of the service or the product, remember that demographics provide information on age, income, and regional preferences of actual potential buyers. Every time people tell me there's no money in Nigeria, there's money. Real money. See, 70% of Nigerians are living below $2 per day. That's correct. 30% are living above $2 per day. That's what it means. Am I correct? But there's a percentage, about 10 to 50% of Nigerian population who are living on a number of dollars per day that is superior to what an average European has. That the top 5% Nigerians, the kind of money they have is superior to what the 10%, average 10% Americans have. So you can't just look at what you saw in Makoko as basis to now determine this is what Nigerians are. There are Nigerians who are billionaires who are never mentioned in Forbes. Billionaires in dollars, dating back to 20-something years. So, and it's therefore, we need to therefore look at Nigeria rather than look at 200 million Nigerians as poor. That 5% of Nigerians that can afford high-profile mortgage, they are just 10 million. That's 5% of 200 million. But 10 million is bigger than the population of Switzerland. If we use 15%, that is above average, it means that's 30 million. That's almost half of the population of UK. That's about 5 times the population of Switzerland. That's twice the population of Belgium. That's why the Oyibo man comes to Nigeria and never desire to leave. Even when they finish their term of 5, 6, 7 years as an MD, they resign from that company and stay in Nigeria. And because they see other business opportunities. So Nigerians are rich based on demography. So preference of actual potential buyer, percentage of buyers of retirees, percentage that might buy a vacation or second home. Interest, and remember, people don't write number of mortgage you have in your head. So there are people who wear slippers. They don't wear shoes like me. But but they are worth billions. It is when you go in there. So next, interest rate impact the price and demand. No. Sorry, not next. Back. Interest rate. So when you buy into real estate, it overcomes the problem of interest rate, particularly when you are not paying the full money at once. Let's say you pay the full money at once. It means your return is immediate. It's still better than if you have kept your money in the bank. Secondly, if you pay a little bit out of it, then you are owing something that is a real asset. And what it means that over a period of years, it will pay for itself. And so you need to buy in a location where you can easily get rent. Real estate prices often follow the cycle of the economy. Investors can therefore mitigate this risk by buying into investment funds, diversified holdings that are either not tied to economic cycle that can withstand downturns. Government policy also has a way of affecting growth in real estate. Move on. Next. So COVID-19 has created real impact, causing more foreclosures, evictions, increased need for government relief for landlords. Some of the tenants could not stay in the houses again. They left. And so if your rent is what you used to pay your mortgage, you have to find a way to pay your mortgage again. And so for someone like me who works in Nigeria, if anybody leaves any of the properties in UK or US, I have to convert. That's a lot of energy, that's a lot of effort. So that has to be taken into consideration. So don't go into too many mortgages. Do within the limit of your income. That means if all your assets are not occupied and you need to pay your mortgage, you have a means of paying for it. So next. More people will therefore continually move to residential single family, and I think you spoke about bachelors. There are 2 kinds of bachelors. They are bachelors due to the fact that they are bachelors. These are professional bachelors who have never been married. Then there are bachelors maybe when you are building a house, you build it an 8-bedroom house, including your children. Now you've realized that your children are not living here, and they are not interested in coming back. Where I live in Ugudu, there are houses that are almost like 12 rooms, and only one person, or just the father and the mother, a couple, they are living there. And it is so unfortunate, because that's a waste of resource. Such people require a 1-room or 2-room condominium where they can relate to other people, because in the current house, they cannot relate to anybody. And so they will have a common swimming pool, common lawn tennis, common table tennis, common generator, 24-hour light. I hope you understand what I'm talking of. And there are stages in life where you move away from those big houses to smaller houses. And those opportunities are emerging now. So that's why you see some of the old houses, they are being removed. So due to pandemic, renters all across the country, they move from apartments in urban areas to larger properties in residential suburbs. That's clear. Not everybody will be able to live in Banana Island. So we've got to create our own Banana Island. I hope you know what I mean. So some of us who can therefore not live in Banana Island because we don't have money to have yacht and to be able to swim in case of flood, we decided to build our own Banana Island in Oguduji area. I hope you understand me now. And so Oguduji area has transformed from what it used to be when I went there in 1999 to a totally different place. Houses left, right, and center are being rebuilt. And so, next, real estate market goes through many ups and downs. It's dependent on several factors, interest rate. So regardless of how the market behaves currently, novices and pros can apply many strategies to propel the business forward. Move. Let's move faster. Next, sir. So, a little deeper into the real estate business. Andrew Carnegie once stated that 90% of millionaires build their wealth in real estate industry. And that's why I'm talking to people who are interested in gradual growth of wealth. If you want an overnight wealth, so real estate may not be it. But gradual growth of wealth, assured growth. And the reason is this. If you buy a property today and you do not do anything to it, and you do not even collect rent on it, in 5 years' time, the value of that property will be better off. So, basically, next. So, lead generation for real estate investors can be done by working closely with real estate agents, brokers, attend network meetings like this, use social media, develop direct mail campaign, increasing web traffic or target investors. That was why DMC was asking us to go to the YouTube channel. We'll see more on the strategies. Next. So, we must concentrate on one market. Before venturing to a new market, you must first of all ask, is this a buyer's or seller's market? Is this a renter's market? Is it another where people rent, buy homes? You use the answer to the question. For example, I've shown interest in property rentage. I've shown interest in commercial property. I've shown interest like a cooperative with other people to invest in different things, in land. And if you are lucky, and Walmart decide to come and buy land around where you've already bought the land, they are already creating a new community. The value of your land appreciates. It's like lottery. Move. Next, sorry. Good. In real estate, you should keep up with the market. You must keep on tracking real estate market. You must keep on listening to your clients. You subscribe to industry publication. You track global news. You observe highly volatile markets. You push strength into your real estate. According to NBC News, which is in US, home sales soared 21% in US in 2020 due to COVID. How? Because as more people are moving from the city into the suburb, the rates that were lower in the suburb started to grow. Meanwhile, some people are making more money due to COVID. They were moving to urban. Am I communicating now? Like I have some properties that were vacated by the blacks. I'm talking about the African Americans. And they were occupied by the whites because they can afford it. It was cheap for them. The rent rate was cheap. Whereby the other people could not stay there because it was too much. Next. So, number one is to identify target market. We've spoken about that. You have to identify your target audience. The target audience that I'm saying is you have to look at the demography. You have to look at the income classes. 1% of the Nigerian population is in A class. 1%. 1% of 200 million is what? 2 million. There are 2 million Nigerians who are multi-millionaires in dollars or pounds. Am I communicating? Good. This category of people, luxury matters to them. They do not just want to have fun, they want to luxurious real estate. Not just for purpose of them living there, but also for purpose of investment. They are not the kind of people who will want to build a house or buy a house that you have built, like real estate agent has built, the real estate realtor has built in Iju. I hope you know what I'm talking about. So they want a specific area, and there are about 2 million of them. The next is 4%, which is the B socioeconomic group. The B class, the 4% of 200 million is about 8 million. That's a large number. They're scattered all over Nigeria, but they are much more present in urban centers. In Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. I hope I'm communicating. Now, if you get these people right, and you're able to target them well, about 8 million Nigerians can afford a middle class to a semi-upper class kind of houses. So the first 5% are what we refer to as the upper class. The 1% is the upper. The 4% is the lower upper. The 5% combined is the upper class. 5% of 200 million is huge at 10 million. The second class, the second level is the upper middle class, which account for 10% of the population. And that is 10% of 200 million. That's 20 million. And remember that the likes of my mom and dad, when they were alive, about 3 years ago, both of them were alive 3 years ago, they would logically be classified as poor. Am I correct? Because they don't have a means of livelihood. They don't have retirement benefit or things like that. They were just traders, private business owners, or things like that. They didn't work formally for any organization, no pension, nothing. But my mom used to carry as much as 15,000 naira airtime. My dad carries about 100,000 naira airtime, which I credit to them to call any of their children, grandchildren, anywhere in the world at any time. So in the real sense, you may think they don't have money, but their children will be able to buy for them a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. Am I communicating? So the semi-urban locations also have its own market for these old people. And the children outside the country wants to buy houses for their parents. Because when they send money to their uncles and brothers, they chop the money. When they send money to their parents, the parents chop the money. So they want to come around, buy a house in a place like Ibafor. I hope you know what I'm talking of. They want to buy a house in a place like Ibafor, things like that, where they will live, and where when they themselves come around, they can just stay for a day or two before they continue their journey. So it's crucial that you take note of it. Move on. Budget for marketing expenses, if you are a real estate builder. Next. Create a website and use social media. Next. Encourage referrals and word of mouth, like we are doing today as we celebrate 10 years. Move on. So, no, move on. Don't worry. Respond quickly when people ask you for questions. Why didn't I take a mortgage with Halifax? I shared this story in class. My first account in US was with Halifax. Halifax was a bank purely for mortgage, originally. And then my son needed to go to school. I needed to pay fees. I felt that I would pay the fees term by term. But I was told if I pay at once, I will enjoy a huge discount. That discount I calculated in pounds was very much. At that time, the exchange rate was 100 naira to $1. That looks good. I say, I will be able to enjoy close to 3,000 pounds discount. I better pay at once. So I needed money. I went to all the banks in Nigeria. They were asking for the head of my father and the legs of my mom. So I called Halifax. Halifax says, you have account with us, but you have not bought any property. If I bought a property, we'll have lent you money against those property. I called Barclays. Barclays says, you have been running an account with us. You never asked for an overdraft. We can't borrow you money. The best we can offer you is an overdraft. So you can give me overdraft. Say, Nigeria is not even willing to give me overdraft unless I give collateral. How much can you give me? I say, we can give you 5,000. I say, what do I need to do? Say, nothing. If we agree, as I'm talking to you on phone, I was in Church Gate building here, 6th floor, talking on phone. You see, 5 minutes time, check. It will have been credited to your account. I look at it. I felt maybe this must be 419. So I waited till about 8 minutes. I checked my account. And lo, the money was there. I added it to the money I had. I paid off my kid's money. They sent confirmatory admission to him. We took it to the embassy. It was as if I was still dreaming till today. So Halifax offered me 4% on my mortgage. Barclays offered me 5%. 1% is a big percentage. But because they were nice to me originally, I choose to stay with them. And all the mortgages I've signed with Barclays. Why did I do so in UK? Because Barclays was there for me when I needed them. I'm sure there are people in the bank here. The way banking is done in Nigeria, Nigerian bankers are suffering from arrogance. They think because you don't drive a Rolls Royce, you don't have money. You have made the biggest mistake. The biggest mistake. Because it's not everybody who has £1, who writes it in front of his head that I have a £1 in my account. The people in real estate understand there are people who do not even wear slippers in their homes, but they have multiple houses signed for them. The bankers are missing. The bank in Nigeria are missing big. And that's why real estate developers must look for alternate source of money rather than the typical bank money. Am I clear? Next. Thank you. Publish real estate newsletter. Let the real estate developer have a newsletter that can be published and people. Before I forget, ensure that you make use of phygital, both physical presence, you bring people to the location to see life, and also use digital methodology. Ensure that you have a presence online that enables people to be able to see the digital version of the house that you are trying to build. So somebody like me may not be willing to go all the way to Awoyaya to go and look at a house. It takes me 4 hours from Ikeja GRA to get to Lakwe 3 weeks ago when I went to Lakwe. 4 hours. Of course, I love the environment I met in Lakwe. Real estate, good place, everything. But to imagine that I have to travel 4 hours to be able to get there, so it cannot be a place I will be living. When I retire from retirement, that means I've retired the second time. You know something? I can live there. That's the second retirement. You don't want anybody to see you, so you stay there. And then you don't need to come to town. And then anybody coming to greet you, we know that it's a full day journey. 4 hours go, 4 hours come. Now, in such cases, so you can look at, but definitely when you have provided a digital format, so you must blend both physical and digital. Real estate developer must not rely on physical presence alone. So I have a cousin who's into real estate in terms of reselling. When it is developed, they sell. So he created a website. On that website, you put the video and everything. And that's the best way to actually sell real estate, to combine. Thanks. Next. Despite questions of the need for a real estate agent, ensure the issue of disintermediation. Some people will say, I want to deal directly with you, and the rest of them. Move on. Plan for success. There must be a business plan. I recognize the fact that I have a friend who never developed a business plan for any of his 36 companies that is running in Nigeria. But there are very few of them who will be genius, who can think through in the head and just make things happen. I am a sequential, logical person who believes that a plan is a one-page plan. So you must have a plan. What do you want to do? So when he was talking, he said, when we first set up as a company, we were not sure what we were going to do until somebody offered us about 11 acres of land. But with planning, when there's a thorough planning and an opportunity presents itself, you will be able to exploit it almost immediately. When I worked for 25 years with Pfizer, and Pfizer paid me very well, I was in charge of about 32 countries in Africa before I left as a regional director. And my wife said, what will you be doing when you retire? I say, I want to teach. My wife looked at me and said, you need deliverance, so you are leaving a paid job like this. Because people do not understand that there's a lot of money in teaching. You can't hand big money teaching in a school. But teaching in a school opens you up to gamut of opportunities. So I registered a consulting firm and I'm teaching in a school. I love to teach, so I teach in a school. The consulting firm is involved in strategic consulting. So the consulting firm gets case studies that mentally I can discuss without mentioning names of. Are you clear? But the school provides me with the knowledge that I require to become a better strategic consultant. And so it's a synergy. And because I have a plan laid out, because she was afraid, I recollect a friend of mine. The same day my wife left this country, the same day my son left the country. And I say, I would like you to pick them up at the airport. You say, sorry? When I get there, I will pick up your son, who is resuming for A-level, but not your wife. Your wife is going to City University in London. You don't know what the fees are. Have you thought about this? Now, you Nigerians, you are too optimistic. You want to send your son and your wife to school the same year. I want to let you know, I have enough wahala on my neck. I can't come in to help you when it does happen. Don't worry. Because they don't believe that Nigerians have money enough to be able to pay fees of his son and pay the fees of the wife that is the higher fee in City University in London. But I did both for 2 years simultaneously before my daughter joined in the 3rd year. And then my wife has finished at this time. And my daughter and my son were together in school for years together again. So, please move on. To a large extent, find a way to be able to create a plan. Develop brand awareness, move on. I'm sure this is going to be available in his website. Move on. Fine. Therefore, the growth strategy for those who are strategists or planners like me is that you are either develop strategy on basis of competitive strategy. Competition is building this kind of house. I want to build this kind of house. I want to build it at a lower cost. So selling price will be the basis for me to sell. So it's based on cost leadership. No, I would like to sell to a particular upper middle class people. That will be your market segment. You may choose to look at focus, the uppermost segment where the cream de la cream wants, like the Banana Island type of properties. So it can be on the basis of competition. It can be on the basis of what direction. Either you want to penetrate a market segment of students and people who are fresh graduates, young people in the banking sector, or you want to diversify. You may choose to look at development strategy, just like you see with acquisition, joint effort, internal, whereby you join hands with other people through a co-opetition. That is, you join hands with your competitors to achieve a common objective. Co-opetition, move on. So I've given more details here about it. Please move on. It's the same thing. I've covered it. So what are the takeaways? As entrepreneurs, I want to talk to entrepreneurs, those of us who are investors in real estate. We are not the ones putting down the money for real estate developers. We are the ones who buy the houses, the products that they have. So it's true appreciation. For example, what I earn on rents, I pay property tax outside the country and also pay property tax here, but the property tax in Nigeria is lower, no doubt about it. So what I earn through rent is what I use to pay for the mortgage. So it means the real money I need from the beginning is just the deposit. Am I correct? Good. Now, you should not touch the balance, you should not touch the rent as well, because there will be some incremental over the rent. And at times we need to add more money to pay property tax outside the country. But when you look at the capital appreciation, and you see a property that appreciates for 5 to 7% in real dollar terms or pound sterling terms, it's a very solid thing. So a property that was bought 10 years ago, that is growing in a good location at about 7%, it takes just over 7 years to double its value. It means if you buy at 100K, it becomes 200K. It means 100K is available to you. In addition to the fact that you have lowered your loan significantly in the last 10 years. So you see also have another money associated with your contribution. 2, it's important for us to understand location. So I would rather put my money in a location that I know is appreciating fast than to put my money in a location that is not appreciating fast, but is a big money. What that means is that Banana Island may not even be the best location. I'm not talking of where to live. It's a good place to live. But I'm talking of a good place for capital appreciation. It might be a suburb that is actually appreciating fast because of something that is happening there. Let me start an example. In Southeast London, 20 years ago, it was known that there was going to be an Olympic in Southeast London over 20 years ago. And that if you therefore buy property in Southeast London, and there was going to be an extension of the underground further, it means those people will be able to get closer. I'm going to close here. It's my second one, don't worry. Thank you. So what we did was we bidded and then invested ahead. So location became an advantage for us. Inflation is important. We can also make money from rents for both residential and commercial. Real estate investment of various funds that are set up by developers or by financial institutions, you can use. And so you can go work with your fund managers and look for funds that you can invest on. So that even though you are not a direct player, you are an indirect player, but you're also making money from real estate. That means if you invest in funds on real estate managed by fund managers that is investing in real estate, you also make money out of that. Next. So how money is made, I've mentioned, through appreciation, income, location, development. Move on. Property value appreciate, development of land. Those are the ways to make money as entrepreneurs. Next. Royalties. Let's say you have a land and they are doing something on that land. Maybe they got a mineral, they got wood, they got some things, you can be getting royalty from it. Next. Location. Your location is the biggest factor in appreciation. If we are close to a commercial center, you are close to ShopRite, you are close to a good shopping center, you are close to schools, train station, things like that. Move on. Home improvement, you can decide to put extra bathroom, eating in a garage, remodeling a kitchen with state-of-the-art, so that the guy who visited it and wanted to pay $1,500, he refuses it again after you have remodeled, is willing to pay $2,000. Something like that. So you can actually make money from your existing mortgage through remodeling. Move on. Commercial property also gain value based on location, development, and improvement. And commercial property just happens to be things that requires cooperative at times. Because at times you cannot be the only person who will build an entire shopping mall. And so you have to join other people. Move on. Inflation is part of it. And so because there's an appreciation, you are able to overcome the rate of inflation. Move on. Next. I've spoken about income. Move on. Raw land income. Raw land income means you buy land and hold it for some time, which is also real estate. You don't have to have property on top of it. But please, when you have raw land, there are a number of my friends, I have a friend outside the country who bought raw land somewhere between Shagamu and Abeokuta. And the estate agent promised him big deal. Anyway, by the time he retired and he came back, he used to work for UNICEF. He came back to Nigeria and went to look for his house and his everything. There was nothing on ground. And the return is money to him. But the return is money that he paid when the exchange rate was like 180, 150, 180. They returned that surface amount of money in Naira back to him today. 2, they removed, according to mutual agreement, which was in the signed agreement, they removed, I think, about 20 or 25% of the value. And he was just happy that at least he got something back. And they couldn't pay all the money back. So they said, okay, we will give you land. And the value of this land is worth, let's say, 100K. But in reality, the value of the land may not be worth more than 40. So, to me, when you want to do raw land, be sure that you have all the necessary papers. Move on. In fact, it's better for you to buy property than to buy land, particularly in Nigeria. Residential property income, I've spoken about that. Move on. I've spoken about income generally. I've spoken to part to profit, buy and hold. So it's possible for you to buy property, hold for some time, and resell. Because we know that is going to make appreciate. Next. Move on. Flipping is lucrative. So you can also use your property for Airbnb or vacation rentals. As a matter of fact, I've never lived in any of the houses I have outside the country. I've never slept a night in any of them, either in UK or in US. Because it is cheaper for me to stay in bread and breakfast and then take the money you make from your house, or to even stay in a luxurious hotel, or go on cruise, and then just visit the place. On the day the cruise will get to that location, you see it, and then you move on. Just say hello to the tenants and move on. And then they don't know that it's just this little black boy. He thought he's a white man, Move on. Alternative real estate income could come through many other methodologies, like I told, using the fund methodology. Move on. Let me close, move on. I've spoken about this. Other ways is to use real estate option, which is like finder's fee, use of house of, you right to buy a house for a specialized period. You promise a real estate provider that I'm going to buy the house. So you say, I'm going to sell it to you at 100K. And you may pay after 6 months. Within those 6 months, you've agreed that the fee will not change. And then meanwhile, you look for other people who are going to buy. And once they buy, that difference in the figure that you agreed with the developer and the figure you got. And in some cases, you make money than the developer. So, next. Move on. No, I've spoken about rates. I've spoken about this story. No, that's a repetition. We're moving forward, though. Lease option. You can lease with an option to buy. Contract flipping is that instead of flipping out, this type of flipping involves the transfer of the rights of the purchase contract to another buyer. It's just like you hold it. So if I distress sellers and motivated buyers and bring them together, you may be able to make a profit this way, like a finder's fee. Move on. The bottom line that there are several proven strategies for making money in real estate. Remember appreciation, inflation, income rank high on the list, but several alternative real estate investments also exist. Remember that your investment risk and whether the overall process is worth it or not is therefore up to you. Let's read the caveats together. It is advisable to do what? Before? The reason that don't hold me responsible for advising you. I've taken the legal way out. And don't tell me that I told you to do this and it didn't work out. Every decision you take has its own risk. I've shared my own testimony of how it has been beneficial to me. And I've also told you that I've burned my finger in stock. And therefore, I've realized the fact that this is actually a much more reassuring methodology for wealth creation. Next, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's nice for you to remove your focus away from this ugly face and look at that other one. Thank you.
Can we please put your hand together for Professor Lere Baale? Did I get that right? All right.